Hi, welcome to the Beyond Barriers Habits and Hacks show. Do you define your vision and goals only to struggle to stay on track? Well, in today's episode, we're going to dive into the 5 essential elements of commitment so that you can set your goals and achieve them. If you can relate to those missed deadlines and dreams, don't worry, you're not alone. Research shows 92% of people do not achieve their goals. Nikki, you're one of the few 8% and has an amazing track record of achieving big goals. So how do you do it? What's the secret to your success?
There's no secret. Success really is about staying motivated and focusing on the right thing at the right time. It doesn't matter how big your vision and goals may be. You just have to break it down into something that helps you avoid all the distractions and focus on only the things that matter, that will give you the leverage and move you forward towards where you need to go. And that's really what commitment is about, is that it helps you break down a really big dream or a really big vision into measurable, tangible goals. And then from there, knowing what to focus on and when. So there are 5 essential elements of commitment. The first one is having a clear and compelling personal and professional vision. The thing is, if you don't know who you want to be and where you want to go, any road will take you there.
Right, exactly.
So, and it's not enough to just have a vision in one aspect of your life, whether it's personal, like want to have a dream home, or I want to have a great relationship, but have zero perspective on your professional vision. Or the reverse, where you have big ambitions professionally and you have you want to get to the C-suite, you want to have a big multi-million-dollar business, but you have no clarity on your personal vision. So it's important to have as much clarity about your personal and professional goals and be able to clearly define them. And then be really excited about it, because what good is a vision if you're not excited about getting to it? It has to be something that pulls you. You just can't wait to jump out of bed because every day you're making progress towards that vision that you care so deeply about. The second essential element is having measurable personal and professional goals for the year. So a vision could be something that's very long-term that, you, whether it's defined over 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years that you may want to get to. But when it's that grand and that far out, you may not know what specifically you need to achieve in a shorter time frame. So it's a lot easier to define measurable goals on a 1-year level. Right? So set an annual goal, and then again, go back to those categories across that looks at your life holistically. All the things that matter to you, whether it's family and health and wealth and career or your spiritual needs and so forth. Look at all of those categories and then define very clearly what is the goal, that you can set against each of them, so that holistically it moves you towards that vision for your life that you have.
Right.
And make sure that they're in balance with each other. That does not mean that you have equal focus on every single one, because you can make intentional decisions about which area of your life actually requires you to focus on it now. Maybe the year before you did extraordinarily well in your career, but as a result, maybe your health suffered. Fitness was not a top priority, and now it needs to be, because it's going to have a downstream impact. Anything we ignore eventually catches up with us. So this annual planning and goal setting is a great opportunity for you to really look back at that wheel of life and say, which one is actually holding me back? Which one is getting in the way? And how do I calibrate that so I can bring back that momentum back into my life by having all aspects, in that wheel of life calibrated and coordination. So it's giving me the speed and momentum for my life.
Excellent.
The third essential element of commitment is having a defined and achievable personal and professional plan for the quarter. So you defined your annual goals, right? But that's like looking out, when you're driving, let's say in the dark, and you can't see 100 feet out, right? But you can see a quarter of that. And that's really what this comes down to, is you can set your annual goals, but there's a lot that's going to happen in a year. Some things that are within your control and some things that won't be in your control. But if you have to look out just 90 days, It's a lot more manageable because you can anticipate a lot better what's likely to happen in 90 days within your life or your career, or even generally, in things outside of your control. So that visibility allows you to make a much better plan, a much more achievable plan, because you have that line of sight into that. And it also makes a big problem smaller. So rather than looking at your annual goal and saying, wow, I've got to lose 20 pounds, that may be a lot. Or maybe I've got to double my income. That feels intimidating. But when you break down that annual goal into something just for one quarter, it's a quarter of that. So it's less intimidating to think about, well, I've got to lose 5 pounds, instead of worrying about the 20. And you just focus on that.
Right.
And you think about what needs to happen. What are the habits? What are the actions and the activities that need to happen in those 90 days for you to get to your 90-day outcome or the milestone you set for yourself? The fourth essential element is having one weekly commitment towards those personal and professional goals. So you may know what needs to happen over the course of 90 days or 12 weeks. What if you could break it down even further and ignore the 11 weeks and just focus on the 1 week that you're in? And before the start of that week, being able to define that, what is that one thing that is the most important thing, that gives you the most leverage, that gives you the most momentum towards your bigger vision, so that if you just accomplish that one thing, that you know for a fact that you're going to be moving towards what you really want. And that allows you to remove the distraction or even the stress and anxiety of not worrying about everything else. Because if you're not focused, if you're not clear about that one commitment, you may easily get distracted by other people's demands on your time or the next new thing that comes your way. And next thing you know, you're chasing after so many things. You've got 47 items on your task list and you're just overwhelmed and stressed.
Yes.
And the week is gone and now you did not achieve that one thing. Or maybe several weeks have gone and now you're at the end of your quarter and you have not made progress towards that. So having clarity on a week-to-week level to say, what is that one thing that I must get done is really important. And finally, the fifth essential element of commitment is conducting these weekly reviews where you get to celebrate progress, not just achievement. It's a lot like running a marathon. If you never stopped to fuel up and ran the entire way, you probably won't even make it. Right? So it's important to make sure you're being able to not only take stock of where you are, what you learned, but also being able to kind of, refuel yourself and celebrate the fact that you took action.
Yes.
And our focus tends to be on what we achieved and said, okay, here's an actual achievement that we had, and we only celebrate those. Well, oftentimes those can be few and far between.
Right.
But what if you got into the habit of celebrating every single week and just having something to look forward to? So that weekly habit, that weekly review that allows you to not only fuel up and regain the excitement and also gives you an opportunity to pivot if needed. Because now you're making shorter, quicker pivots towards that North Star. And so if there's something that has changed or something that was out of your control and you need to take new strategies or plan out a new course of action, you've got enough time to be able to do that. So conducting those weekly reviews are really essential, as opposed to setting a goal at the beginning of the year and then looking at the goals on December 31st and say, oops, I forgot I even had these goals, or wow, I'm nowhere near them. So imagine being able to look at it every single week and then kind of like iterating and adjusting as you need so that you can make sure you get there.
That's excellent. And celebrating every week too, when you look back, you realize that then you enjoyed the journey.
Exactly.
You actually enjoyed the journey.
Exactly. Because it's rarely about the destination. It's who we are becoming in the journey and what we're learning in the journey that defines, the kind of experience and fulfillment we have, not just the achievements we stack up.
So in simple terms, it's really taking a really big problem and breaking it down into small, tangible things that you can actually achieve and celebrate, and it gives you the momentum to keep going.
Exactly. It really comes down to being able to focus on just one thing. Because what gets in the way of achieving your goals is distraction. Because you're distracted by so many other things. You're trying to go after multiple things at the same time, or perhaps you're just subconsciously worried and anxious about all the other things you're not getting to while you're focusing on one thing. So being able to plan in a way that takes this big vision into measurable goals for the year, into a quarter, into a month or a week or then a day, allows you to just let go. Let go and just focus. And focus allows you to then excel at what you're doing and give your best to it. And also gives you greater fulfillment because you're not just chasing, you're enjoying the process.
So share with everyone maybe your favorite habit or hack in the whole planning kind of process.
Well, my favorite ritual really comes down to my weekly review. It's I call it my Sunday review, and it's something I've been doing for years and years. And it's I can't even. It's so much a part of my being. I can't even imagine not doing it. So here's basically what I do: is you can pick a day of the week that works best for you. For me, I pick Sundays as the beginning of the week, and I simply carve out the same time every Sunday to sit and kind of reflect. And what I do during this weekly review is I look back, I pause, and I think about what I learned, and then I look forward. And so as I'm looking back, I ask myself the questions of, well, what did I actually accomplish? And I document that. So I do this digitally. You could do it in a notebook or journal or in any of your favorite tools. I tend to capture mine in Evernote. And so in that, I just document what did I accomplish last week. And over time, when you keep documenting all of your accomplishments, it's a little bit like you'd mentioned the greatest hits list. You have tangible evidence of all the things you've accomplished, and it tends to stack up. And you feel like, the superstar every week because we forget how many things we actually get done because we're so busy doing them. And once we're done with that list, we move on to the next list. And we never pause and actually get inventory of all the things we've managed to make happen. And so taking that time to document the accomplishments and then reflecting on, where was I stuck? Were there some roadblocks that perhaps held me back? Maybe it's a mindset issue. Maybe it's a skill set issue. Maybe it's something I need to learn. So that awareness of saying, what held me back and just bringing awareness to that. And so therefore, what did I learn from it? Was there an insight? Was there a failure that taught me something? Or perhaps a brilliant insight that just came through last week? So being able to document that is a way of instilling that in your mind and you're sort of learning because you're acknowledging that transformation that's happened. And that is my process for the week before. And then I pause to reflect on what is the one focus for the week ahead.
Okay.
And typically that's breaking down my 90-day weekly, my quarterly plan into what needs to happen this week. So I generally already have a sense of what needs to happen that week. But it's a time to pause and reflect and ask myself, is it still the right focus? Do I need to pivot? Do I need to do something differently? And so pausing and making that decision helps me be intentional in how I invest my time forward, as opposed to just sticking to a plan that I defined 90 days ago and just going with the flow. It gives me an opportunity to be much more intentional and adjust my plans. But then once I pick that one focus for that week ahead, then I go about planning that week. And in planning that week, I look at, what does my schedule look like for the week? What are the blocks of time I must keep to myself because it goes towards my one commitment. And instead of just leaving an open calendar where somebody else can take over my time, I'm guarding it. It's precious to me because my one commitment for the week is to get that one thing done. And so, how much time do I need to allocate? What is the best time of the day for me to do it? Which days are the best days? Kind of planning out what my, it's really allocating time against that goal and going through that exercise of planning. And then the best part of it is figuring out, well, how will I reward myself for taking action? So not reward myself for hitting that goal, but really reward myself for simply taking action. So I decide that before the end of the week. So in my Sunday ritual, I actually decide, well, I look at what I call my rewards catalog and say, well, what do I want to do to celebrate that? It could be a tangible reward, like maybe it's getting a massage or going to a nice dinner, or maybe it's just doing nothing, giving myself the time to do nothing, or reading a book, or hanging out with friends, whatever that might be. I decide what would feel really great as a reward for taking action towards my one commitment. And then finally end with, what am I grateful for? And so being able to go through that exercise every week of looking back, pausing and figuring out what's most important, and then looking forward and planning it out, and really giving myself something to be grateful for and something to be excited about is just a weekly ritual I love. And it's allowed me to get through really difficult times, and it's allowed me to really be the source of my success.
That's brilliant. And it seems extremely tangible to do. You just have to commit and do it.
Yes. I think the hard part is not the process of the weekly review. The hard part is sticking to it and doing it every week. For me, it's just on my calendar. It's non-negotiable. And now, frankly, after so many years, it's just a habit. So I don't even think twice about it.
Okay, everyone. So here's your homework for this week. Pick one habit or hack that we shared with you on this episode and take action on it today. Share it with us, the one thing that you picked, and also, how did you celebrate? Be sure to tag us so that we can follow you and share your story. Visit IamBeyondBarriers.com, where you can find all the show notes and links to the resources that we mentioned in this episode. See you next week. Whether you're just getting started or hungry to get ahead, simply working hard is no longer enough to advance your career. You must keep learning new skills and adapt to a rapidly changing business landscape. If you're an ambitious woman who wants to dominate your career, then the Beyond Barriers Habits and Hacks show is for you. This show is co-hosted by Nikki Barua, digital innovator, serial entrepreneur, author, and speaker, and Monica Marquez, ex-Googler, diversity expert, and senior corporate leader. As thought leaders in innovation and inclusion, we bring unique insights on career success in the digital age. Learn how to develop the skill set, mindset, and tool set to accelerate your success, gain clarity, develop unstoppable confidence, anticipate and get ahead of change, master cutting-edge success strategies, and build a powerful professional network. Check out new episodes every Monday and turn TGIF into TGIM.